All right, we're going to make our transition right on over to Just Talking. And our fabulous guest today is all the way out in New York City. Well, outside the skirts. She's going to have to tell us ourselves. Amanda, the Millennial Traveler. How's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty well given circumstances. Thank you.
Right? I mean, it's so insane right now. And I'm so glad to have you on the show, especially during these times, because I already know where it's week 4 in the quarantine. You know, Marissa and I, we're starting to get a bit antsy, right? And
hmm
our number one thing, that we're still trying to figure out is what is going to be that new essential item that's going to be required for us when we go traveling once we get out of this pandemic.
Yeah, so I think we all can have a great idea. Noticing what's out of stock on the shelf just gives us that indicator. So people probably are still going to be fairly afraid. They're going to reach for those like masks and hand sanitizers and wipes. I myself always took antibacterial long before, so that will forever remain an essential item considering the amount of bathrooms I've gone to that don't have soap. Don't get me started on that.
Well, yeah, especially when you go traveling 24/7 like yourself. I mean, I had the luxury in like Japan, for example, last year when I went, and it just was spectacular bathroom facilities. That's all I gotta say.
And
And I know,
they have like great little like what are those bidets?
yeah, and if you've never tried one of those out, you have to. It's like probably one of the greatest things. And that's a funny point, Marissa. That seems like an essential
uh,
item that everybody seems to be purchasing because everybody's so worried about, the toilet paper, right? We don't want to hoard toilet paper, so how do we find a new alternative? Just get a bidet and just get a little squirt on.
Yes, and people in Asia actually already have like a system for that. They have like a spray nozzle on the side of the toilet, so they're already practicing that. So I'm like, oh, we might have to kind of like uptake these practices now here in America. It's like if we can't find toilet paper, we have no alternative.
That is awesome. I want a portable bidet to take everywhere.
You're glitching out just a little bit, Marissa. But yeah, I mean, I know we definitely
Oh
need a little bit of
no.
a bidet. I mean, anywhere. I think I just butchered that wrong. But anyways, I mean, the real question I want to ask you is, Amanda, is, obviously, traveling, there's going to have to be some new restrictions that happen because especially when 9/11 happened, there was new policies that definitely took in place. I can only imagine with the coronavirus pandemic, there's going to be new essential items that are going to be necessary for traveling. And the few things that I was thinking of is, do you think in America we're going to start the new norm of actually requiring masks every single time you go to travel?
It might be the case for a length of time, although I personally don't believe that's solving the problem. I mean, I still have seen, like I've spoken to about these like pocket holes in the mask. So I personally probably would not wear because I don't see it as effective, but I know the majority of people, most likely the non-millennials, are going to find that they're going to want to wear masks for quite a while.
Yeah, I could see that too. And I know one of the craziest things, especially when the coronavirus first broke out, right? It was in late January. The virus broke out in Wuhan, China. And I thought this was kind of crazy. You were actually in Mexico at the time in late January. And I think this is such a unique question because I've been wondering this for a while. What was international news like compared to national news when you got back into the States? How was the rest of the world handling the situation compared to how the US was doing it?
Yes, so at that initial time, late January, borders were still open in that moment. And then I would say it started rapidly change by March. So I caught wind from another person because I don't really keep up to date with all the propaganda circulating, as you mentioned. Someone mentioned to me when I was there, oh, this virus had broke out in China. And of course, like we're all thinking, because we're conditioned to think, oh, it's isolated in China. Well, fast forward 1, 2 months later, and then it's like spreading around the world, including every state in America. So it completely blew my mind from thinking it's like an isolating event from it now being spread around the world.
Yeah, and that's so true because especially there's a lot of metal booking agents because I love hard rock and the heavy metal scene. And a lot of them have been discussing that, concerts realistically might not start until, early 2021. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on travel happening anytime this year? Do you think President Trump is going to start an executive order saying that all travel restrictions will still be ban until the entire year? Do you think that's a possibility that might happen here?
Yes, for sure. I've been contemplating it, and I think it's a very strong possibility that it's going to be banned for the remainder of this year,
Really?
including further restrictions within America. Yeah,
Wow,
I would say they're
I
just
totally
introduced.
disagree. I think that we're going to open up our traveling nationwide and going around by mid-May, and it's going to be all the way through summer, and then we're going to get hit again with COVID, and they're going to shut it down in fall.
That's even
And do it
worse.
that way.
Well, like what you were saying, Amanda. I mean, that's crazy. May, Marissa, really May?
I think so. I'm
they're
putting the
not-
money
they're
on it
not-
right now. We're going to open it up mid-May for summer travel. They're already talking about it, and then we're going to get hit again with COVID, another round when everyone's done their summer stuff and they're all flocking together, and then fall, we're going to shut down again.
My only thing is I just don't see that happening, because it seems like the federal government obviously has been taking the lead off whatever an organization does, right? I mean, when the NBA season literally canceled the whole season because Rudy Gobert tested positive, that's when the whole country shut down. And if the NBA season's saying that it's not going to be a reality for the season to get back up until possibly June, I just don't know if that's going to happen. But you're bringing up an interesting point, Marissa, because there are these talks now, like Bob Iger with Disney. He's been suggesting that Disney parks might start doing temperature checks when we get back out of this pandemic. So, Amanda, do you see that being something that might happen at airports across this country?
Yes, for sure, 100%. I think they really want to keep track of those that allegedly have this virus. So I feel like installing these thermal scanners is almost a guarantee. And I know for a fact it's already happening in Dubai airport, because of course they're always innovating, they're always ahead of the curve in the travel industry. So if they're already doing it, then I'm sure all the other airports in the country are going to also consider it.
Have you ever gone through one of those temperature checks by any chance during your travels?
No, thankfully not. I missed the boat on that before they started to implement that, but I know it's already happening.
Okay, this is kind of a little far-fetched, but I'm just saying, for any of the listeners or the viewers out there who's been following Westworld, right? This kind of spooked me out when I heard about this temperature check, because I started thinking about this certain recent episode that dropped where they were talking about how, the government, if it gets, improving, they will start, tracking our heartbeat. They can track our temperature. They can utilize all this as a tool to help use for, corporations or businesses to hire employees. And I'm just afraid that if we start implementing temperature checks at airports, this might be infringing on our privacy, because maybe, who knows? I mean, they do brain scans and they can figure out what certain individuals are doing. Do you see this as being maybe, do you see that maybe as infringing on our rights? Well, Marissa doesn't think so.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know. I think if it does make it safer travel, then I'm all for it. But I definitely wouldn't want it to be exposed, if and when happening. I think they should handle that privately. So hopefully they would do that. I don't think they're going to announce the loudspeaker like that person has it right there and like make a scene. It's just a matter of how you handle it. So I guess like any regulations that are not, publicly displayed, but kind of like undertone, just regulating it for the safety of others, I guess I'm okay with that.
Amanda, what are you doing in New York right now to stay active under your quarantine?
So much. Well, fortunately, my fitness routine was not affected because I'm not a gym member. I do always walk miles outside. So now I'm just kind of doubling up on that twice a day. I've also gotten into, like most people, TikTok. Hate to say it. I said I would never join that, but it's happened. So now I'm actually publishing recipe videos, along with I'll take a compilation of some of my travel clips eventually. So I'll be doing like travel and recipes on TikTok now.
Ooh, that's really cool.
That does sound interesting, because I was wondering how someone like the Amanda Millennial Traveler is being bunkered down, because I know with Tom the Commie, that's not normal for him. Well, actually, it is normal for him. He's been bunkered down his whole life in Russia. But for someone like Amanda the Millennial Traveler being bunkered down, this is not normal. And, I started laughing about this because, are you feeling like a little bit of like Ellen DeGeneres? I mean, she kind of came out today saying, or this week saying that, she feels like in her quarantine mansion, it feels like jail. Do you feel like you're in jail right now?
Absolutely, 100%. For
Really?
sure. Oh yes, I'm
Okay.
a homebody person by nature, and it's not even like just a matter of like if I'm away being active, but I just like to be around others or just be. I have an active personality, so it's very difficult to be confined right now.
Okay, this, let me tell you, from someone who has been in jail, this is nothing like jail. Let me tell you, jail sucks a lot. Okay, and this is like the Hampshires, Berkshire, the whole nine compared to jail.
You know what? Maybe
Let's
this is.
rephrase it. It's a psychological jail.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe this feels a little bit closer to Shutter Island. Maybe we don't even know what's real and not real, and we've been locked out for so long. But isn't it kind of funny though? I mean, you got people like Ellen DeGeneres, like literally saying she feels like she's in jail, and that's her reasoning for opening back up her studio and bringing her crew and staff back in. Don't you think that's a little bit crazy? I mean, at least you're being productive and trying to find new routes like TikTok to promote your content and just be real.
Yes, I mean, I think it is, but again, I guess it goes to show you, like, however someone's operating, like, are they taking it seriously or not? So maybe to her, it's not as a serious threat as it is to most of the general public. Just like how millennials were still on spring break until they got kicked out of like Florida, Mexico, wherever. It's kind of like that attitude. So for her, maybe she's just kind of unfazed by it. But I'm sure if staff members are not comfortable, they probably won't find themselves there on the set.
And Amanda, you're making a great point because, obviously with the millennials, they've been with, spring break and they've been refusing to want to go home. So my number one question is, once we get out of this pandemic, right? It's like, where is going to be that number one travel destination? Where is everybody going to hoard to?
I think there's going to be quite a few. Like I said, since spring break got cut short and essentially canceled, now people are going to be wanting to revisit Florida, Miami, Mexico, California beaches, Hawaii, in terms of like what's in North America, Latin America. And then I would say the European destinations are definitely going to be back in full swing since now, again, all of the tourism sites are closed, like Rome, Paris, London would be on the map for a lot of people.
Well,
What about Greece? What about Greece? Because I want to go to Greece.
Yeah, and I mean,
I love Greece too.
And Marissa, you're making a great point.
I'm already there.
We did a little mini poll on Twitter, and what the results were showing up is everybody's thinking that they want to go to Tokyo, Japan, or they want to go to Greece. And I thought that was pretty interesting because especially, a year ago when I was in Tokyo, everybody's wearing masks. That's the culture, whether there is no pandemic or not. And when I was there, everybody, especially the American culture, we would laugh off the idea if anybody is wearing a mask when they're not sick, it doesn't serve anything for you. Now we have a whole new philosophy of how we're viewing masks, and maybe that's why people feel like Tokyo, Japan's the safest, because maybe they've been ahead of the curve. What do you think, Amanda?
Yes, I think so. I mean, in highly polluted or highly dense cities, it is normal to see that. I saw that a lot in different Asian countries I went to, like Thailand, for example, probably similar to Japan. So, I mean, for them, it's not going to faze them. But for the Western world that we normally don't do that, we breathe in that air normally and naturally, I think it's going to be a definite transition happening.
Wow. Yeah, I could definitely see that happen. And I know, well, Marissa, you're about to say something. What you got?
Yeah. Have you checked out any of the virtual tours online right now?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
Checking some places out around the world virtually, as you can tell.
Well, that's so funny, Marissa. We had that conversation with Amanda a while back on the show. Remember that Tokyo was actually doing something special for their senior citizens, who are, bedbound, and they started these virtual travel tours. So have you gave in, Amanda, and checked them out?
I have not yet. I guess the closest I came to that was just kind of watching some documentaries. I almost got involved with that whole spiel. But if Marissa can recommend me, then I will definitely take a look into that VR traveling, because that's all we're going to be doing for a long while. So.
Well, Marissa, have you gotten into the virtual tour for travel? Because I haven't.
I have, and it's actually very simple. All you have to do is Google virtual tours, and all these different spots come up. You can do museums, you can do Stonehenge. There are all the places around the world that you can actually go into and virtually look around.
I think that's so unique, Marissa, because I've actually seen a few of my friends actually start these like virtual art exhibits. I don't know how they do it, but it's kind of cool. It looks like a Sims, kind of building, and they have their artwork up there. And I think that's so unique. And I wonder if more companies are going to start pushing out more of these virtual tours. Do you think that's going to be more of a reality in the future, Amanda?
I think it could definitely be a reality, especially if this carries on for the remainder of 2020. They're going to need to find some alternative way to attract people and make different sources of revenue. So I feel for sure we can transition into this, especially depending on the length of time this persists for. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part, right? I mean, I don't know. I still keep going back. It's like I believe millennials are going to be rushing out the door once we get out of this pandemic. I mean, all the beaches are going to be.
What, we're going to be rushing out the door on our $1,200 stimulus check?
I don't have one, so it don't matter. So I'll probably be rushing out. I'll probably be bugging Tom the Commie to give me a shot of vodka after this once we go and see him. But because that's the number one essential item I can't find on the shelf right now. But Amanda, I know that you just endeavored into a new podcast, and I want to be able to promote that for you. And where can the listeners check out your show, and what are some things they can look forward to?
Yes, so in terms of that, I definitely commented about the current pandemic in the world and how that's affected the travel industry, as well as different tips from destinations I've been to. So I'll be having upcoming stories about previous trips to like Europe, Asia, Mexico. They can find all sorts of fun stories, tips, and advice on there. And, of course, the same name, Millennial Traveler.
I
Same
love
name as
that.
always.
Very, very easy, real simple. Amanda the Millennial Traveler. You guys can find it, no problem. And you just brought up a really good point, right? You were talking about, the airport companies. How are they going to handle this? Well, they seem to get that corporate bailout, right? Me as a millennial, I don't get no bailout. How do you see the airport companies coming back after this, what everybody's predicting? We might be going through a recession when we get out of this. So how do you think airport companies are going to be affected from this coronavirus?
I think they're definitely going to have to offer heavily discounted rates and like tourism packages. They're probably doing a lot of partnerships with different airlines, different hotels in order to like sell packages out to people directly in that kind of formatting. So we're doing a lot of partnerships, a lot of discounts, a lot of, spring break, summer deals whenever we get to that again. Once again, I have no idea. Does anyone? So yeah, that's what I see. I see very steeply discounted rates coming in the near future. So that's an exciting thing.
Wow. That could be exciting. I mean, what do you think is going to be the cheapest destination to go to after the pandemic? Do you think it's going to be here in the country, or do you think it's going to be, in Juarez? I don't know. Tijuana. China.
Yes.
Yeah, Wuhan. Actually, Wuhan's going to be the cheapest ticket.
Yes, that would be the cheapest ticket.
If
anyone wants to go there and take a risk, go right ahead. Cheapest ticket available on mine.
Tom the Commie would probably say Chernobyl is probably the next cheapest ticket. So, okay, so everybody, listeners, viewers, you heard it first. Wuhan or Chernobyl is the number one destination to go to for a cheap ticket after. Just kidding. Don't do it. But on a real note, I think that's so cool. And Amanda, thank you so much for sticking around with us. This is the Chris College Show. And and
Amanda, where can all of our listeners find you?
Yes, you can search me out at millennialtraveler.com. That's traveler with 2 L's. And Instagram, Millennial Travelers, with an S at the end. And Facebook.com/Millennial Traveler.